The stars stretched endlessly around Captain Elias Vane as he guided his small cargo ship through the outer edge of the nebula. The usual hum of the engines was comforting, a reminder that despite the vast emptiness of space, he was never truly alone. Space had a way of making one feel both powerful and insignificant at the same time. Elias preferred it that way. Out here, he wasn't just another pilot, he was a navigator of chaos, a solver of problems. He checked the sensors once again. Nothing unusual, just drifting debris, minor solar flares, and the faint glow of distant planets. Elias had been on many runs through uncharted sectors, carrying supplies, occasional passengers, and sometimes stray travelers looking for a shortcut home. Life was simple, yet full of surprises. Then came the alarm. A sudden burst of signal on the radar drew his attention. It wasn't normal traffic. Squinting at the display, Elias saw it. A shuttle, heavily damaged, spinning out of control. Flames licked the hull. The ship was human-made, but it carried no identification code. And worse, it was heading straight for the nearby asteroid field. "Not on my watch," Elias muttered. Hands moving quickly, he steered his ship toward the burning shuttle. Every instinct screamed caution, but every part of him knew someone needed help. The closer he got, the clearer the situation became. The shuttle's outer hull was ruptured in multiple places, smoke pouring into space. Small explosions flickered along its surface. And inside that inferno, he could barely make out movement, a figure struggling. Elias activated his external lights and powered the grappling arm. "Hold on. I've got you," he called, though he wasn't sure the figure could hear him over the chaos. Docking wasn't an option. The shuttle was too unstable. Elias made a split-second decision. He suited up, sealed himself in his EVA suit, and floated toward the wreckage. The nebula's light painted him in shades of blue and purple as he moved. The silence of space was broken only by the hiss of his oxygen system. He reached the shattered door and peered inside. Smoke and sparks filled the cabin. And then, he saw her. A small child, no older than 6 or 7, crouched among twisted metal. Her skin glowed faintly blue, almost like soft moonlight. And her large, reflective eyes looked at him with fear, but also something else. Curiosity. "Don't be afraid. I'm here to help," Elias said softly. He extended his arm, and the child hesitated for a moment, then nodded slightly. Time slowed. Every movement had to be careful. One wrong step, and the shuttle could explode. Elias grabbed her tiny hand, feeling a strange warmth, almost electric, running through him. He didn't have time to think. He pulled her free just as the hull gave a shudder and another section collapsed. They tumbled through space, and Elias activated his magnetic tether to pull them toward his ship. He fought the inertia, spinning slowly as he tried to stabilize both himself and the child. Finally, with a precise maneuver, he reached the airlock. Once inside, he removed his helmet, gasping for air. The child, still glowing softly, looked around in awe at the human ship. Elias didn't speak much. Words felt small compared to the relief of being alive. He placed her on a padded seat and ran his fingers through her hair, brushing away smoke and ash. "Name?" he asked gently. The child tilted her head, and a strange pulse of light traveled from her chest to his hand. Elias felt a wave of warmth, a memory-like feeling he couldn't explain. Then, in broken words, she whispered, "Leora." "Leora," he repeated. "Okay, Leora. You're safe now." The rest of the crew on the station, or anyone who might be looking, would probably question him. A human rescuing an alien child? It was unheard of, especially from a Litherian. Humans had heard stories of the blue-skinned aliens, distant, elegant, and wary of other species. But Elias didn't care. She was alive. And that was enough. He contacted the station control. "This is Captain Vane. I have a rescued shuttle passenger alien child. likely from Lytheria, requesting clearance to dock for medical checks. A crackling voice replied, cautious and tense. Captain Vane, you are authorized to dock, but be aware that Lytherian authorities may demand immediate custody. This is a delicate situation. Elias nodded, though the Lytherians couldn't see him. He guided the ship toward the station, careful not to alert any unnecessary attention. Leora watched the stars, seemingly unafraid now, but Elias could feel her tension. Once docked, medical droids immediately approached, scanning the child for injuries. Leora didn't resist, but seemed to shrink slightly at the droid's cold efficiency. Elias knelt beside her. Don't worry, I'm right here, he said. For hours, he stayed with her, watching as the droids treated minor burns and smoke inhalation. Leora's glow dimmed slightly as she relaxed, her large eyes blinking at him in trust. Elias felt something shift inside him, an understanding that this small life, fragile yet radiant, was more than just a child. She represented a world he barely knew. Finally, the head of the station approached. A tall figure, humanoid, but with elongated limbs and a faint shimmer to their skin. Captain Vane, the figure said, voice polite but firm. Thank you for your actions. The child is Princess Leora of Lytheria. The Queen herself will be informed of your bravery. We will escort you shortly to deliver her safely home. Elias blinked. Princess? He repeated. He looked at Leora, whose eyes met his with a mixture of recognition and something like gratitude. He had saved a royal child without knowing it. And somehow, that made the danger feel heavier and more important. The journey to Lytheria was filled with questions, but Elias didn't have answers yet. How would the Queen react? How would Leora explain him to her people? And more importantly, how would he navigate the expectations of a civilization he had never interacted with? That night, aboard the station, Elias sat with Leora. The city outside the windows shimmered with 1,000 lights, some natural, some artificial, reflecting in her bright eyes. Will they be angry? Elias asked softly. Leora tilted her head, then placed her small hand on his. Another pulse of warmth surged through him. But this time, it carried reassurance. He didn't understand the language fully, not words, but the feeling. She trusted him, and that was enough. Elias leaned back, looking at the stars. He had faced many dangers in space pirates, storms, navigation failures, but nothing like this. Saving a life was one thing. Saving a future, protecting trust, and stepping into a world of political and cultural intricacies was another. Yet, despite the uncertainty, he felt ready. Humans were resilient, adaptable. They could face challenges, build bonds, and rise to unexpected honor. And perhaps, he thought with a small smile, this little Lytherian princess would teach him more about bravery than any battle ever could. As he drifted into a light sleep in the captain's quarters, the glow from Leora's hand resting near his seemed to follow him. A gentle promise that tomorrow would bring the beginning of something extraordinary. And in that moment, Elias Vane didn't yet know that by saving Leora, he had started a story that would take him from the outer edges of space to the heart of an alien kingdom, and eventually, to a place beside a queen himself. The stars outside twinkled silently, indifferent, yet somehow approving. The adventure had begun. The stars outside the viewport of Elias Vane's ship glimmered like distant jewels, each one a silent witness to the voyage ahead. Princess Leora sat quietly across from him, her small hands folded in her lap, her glowing blue skin faintly illuminating the cabin. Space was calm now, but Elias knew that calm was temporary. The journey to Lytheria, a distant and mysterious world, would be more complicated than any rescue he had ever undertaken. Are you hungry? Elias asked, breaking the silence. He handed her a small food packet he kept for emergencies. Leora shook her head slightly, then placed her hand on the packet. A soft pulse of light traveled from her fingers to his. Elias felt warmth spread across his chest, and he realized she was communicating something beyond words. A smile tugged at his lips. "You're safe. That's all that matters for now," he said. Elias checked the navigation systems again. Lytheria was not on any standard star charts. At least not ones he had access to. It lay deep in a sector marked as uncharted by most human authorities. Only special diplomatic routes could take them there safely, and those were strictly regulated. The first hurdle was avoiding attention. Human patrols and Lytherian envoys might see him and assume the worst. A human ship carrying the Lytherian princess? Some would view it as an abduction. Others might consider it a diplomatic disaster. Elias adjusted the course, weaving through the nebula clouds where sensors were less reliable. Hours passed. The quiet of space seemed to stretch endlessly, but Elias kept his focus. Leora sat quietly, occasionally looking out at the stars. He tried talking, telling her stories of planets he had visited, of small colonies struggling to survive on the edges of human space. She listened intently, tilting her head in fascination, occasionally letting out small, almost musical sounds. "They must have a beautiful world," Elias said softly, though he knew words could only convey so much. Leora's hand reached for his again, and he felt the pulse of her emotions, curiosity, wonder, and a hint of nervousness. Elias realized that this small connection was more than trust. It was understanding. Even without a shared language, they were communicating. The next challenge came sooner than expected. Sensors picked up a small fleet of Lytherian ships closing in. At first, Elias thought they were hostile, but their movement was careful, almost hesitant. "They're probably coming for her," Elias muttered, "and they don't know I saved her." Leora's glow brightened, and he felt her anxiety pulse through him. Elias made a decision. "We need to show them we mean no harm." He opened a direct communication channel. A smooth, melodic voice echoed through the cabin. "Human vessel. State your identification and purpose." "I am Captain Elias Vane," he said. "I rescued Princess Leora from a shuttle accident. She is unharmed and in my care. I am bringing her safely to Lytheria." There was a pause. Then a voice, softer this time, asked, "And why should we trust you?" Elias thought for a moment. Words alone might not be enough. Instead, he gestured toward Leora. "Ask her," he said. A Lytherian ship approached closer, scanning them carefully. Elias watched the screen as a small shuttle detached and drifted toward his ship. Leora's pulse of light flickered rapidly. Elias understood she wanted him to stay calm. When the Lytherian envoy arrived, they did not attack. They hovered nearby, scanning, waiting. Elias lowered his shield slightly and allowed a communication beam to open. The envoy saw Leora and immediately recognized her. Soft blue light pulsed along their armor, a sign of relief. "Princess Leora," the lead envoy said, voice calm but formal. "You are unharmed." Leora nodded, touching Elias's hand one more time. The envoy's expression softened. "You have done what many would not, human. We will report this to the Queen. Remain with us until further instructions." Elias exhaled, tension leaving his shoulders for the first time in hours. "Understood," he said. But even as relief washed over him, he knew the journey was far from over. The envoy guided them toward a hidden route through the nebula, one used for centuries by Lytherians to travel safely between worlds. Elias followed, careful not to interfere with the advanced navigation system. He marveled at the precision of the Lytherian technology ships that moved like living creatures, energy flows visible along the hulls like veins. During the journey, Elias learned small things about Leora. She had a gentle curiosity, a love for stories of other worlds, and a courage that belied her small size. She rarely spoke in words, but her pulses of light and subtle expressions told him volumes. He found himself admiring her, not just for her royal status, but for her spirit. As they passed through a dense cluster of stars, a minor anomaly appeared on the sensors, a swirling cloud of particles interfering with navigation. The envoy ships hesitated, but Elias recognized it as a natural phenomenon, nothing dangerous. "Let me guide you through," he said. The lead Letherian looked at him skeptically. Elias's human experience in unpredictable space environments was limited, but practical. "Very well, human. Show us your skill," the envoy said. Elias engaged the sensors, scanning the cloud and calculating safe paths. Carefully, he guided all the ships through the anomaly. The Letherians watched closely. And when they emerged on the other side, they exchanged glances. The lead envoy's voice was approving. "Impressive. You have saved more than the princess today. You have demonstrated wisdom and skill." Elias allowed himself a small smile. "Just doing my part." As night fell well, as close to night as it gets in space, Elias and Leora shared a quiet moment. The stars outside were reflected in the large viewport, and for a brief period, the chaos of space felt almost peaceful. "I never thought I'd be flying with royalty," Elias said softly, more to himself than anyone else. Leora's pulse of light seemed to respond, almost like a laugh. "You'll see," Elias continued. "Letheria is unlike any place you've ever imagined, and I have a feeling they will test me as much as I'm testing them." For Leora, the journey was a mixture of comfort and apprehension. She had been through danger, lost control of her environment, and now trusted a human to bring her home. She could feel Elias's heart steady, brave, and kind. And in her own way, she respected him. But as they approached the Letherian system, tension began to build again. Sensors picked up several ships approaching from the inner planets. Diplomats, scouts, and curious citizens. Rumors of a human escorting the princess were likely spreading, and Elias realized the diplomatic situation could become tricky. One wrong move, and humans could be seen as intruders or worse, as threats. Elias took a deep breath. "We'll face it together," he said. He wasn't sure she understood fully, but the pulse of warmth from Leora's hand reassured him. The Letherian ships communicated ahead, warning authorities of their arrival. The capital city of Letheria awaited a place of crystalline towers, floating gardens, and bridges of light stretching over rivers of shimmering energy. Elias had never seen anything like it. Even the atmosphere as they entered the planet's orbit was different. Colors shifted subtly. The air shimmered with soft luminescence, and the sky was filled with auroras that seemed alive. Elias felt a pang of awe. This was the world Leora called home. "Beautiful," he whispered. Leora's eyes reflected the city below, and Elias could feel her anticipation and anxiety mingling. He knew she would be safe soon, but he also understood the pressure she would face returning to a world with strict royal expectations. The human experience of freedom, choices, and simple bravery were foreign to her. Yet Elias hoped she could carry some of it with her. The lead envoy signaled them forward. "Prepare for diplomatic transfer," they said. Elias nodded, steeling himself. The next moment would define how humans were viewed by an alien civilization, whether as allies or threats. Docking procedures were smooth, but highly formal. Letherian officials awaited, their glowing forms moving gracefully through the landing bay. Elias handed over Leora with care, kneeling slightly as a sign of respect. The child's hand lingered in his for a moment. Then, slowly, reluctantly, she let go. "Princess Leora is safe," Elias said. Nothing more needs to be said. The head diplomat regarded him with a mixture of respect and curiosity. "Your bravery is noted. Human. The Queen herself will decide how to honor your actions." Elias bowed slightly. "I did what anyone would do," he said, though he wasn't entirely certain that was true. He had never faced a situation like this before. He had acted on instinct, compassion, and courage, qualities humans often took for granted, but which seemed rare in the cosmos. Leora turned one last time, her large eyes meeting his. A pulse of warmth passed between them. Gratitude, trust, and perhaps a promise of a bond that could last far longer than this journey. Elias left the bay, watching the princess disappear into her world. He had completed the rescue. But he knew this was only the beginning. Letheria was a land of mystery, protocol, and culture far beyond human experience. And yet, for the first time, he felt a deep sense of purpose. He realized that being human wasn't about size, strength, or power. It was about heart, bravery, and understanding. And in saving Leora, he had shown that humans could rise to challenges even the most advanced civilizations might never expect. As Elias prepared his ship for departure, he looked up at the glowing city, a mixture of awe and humility in his chest. The stars outside shone brighter than ever, reflecting a universe full of possibilities, challenges, and connections waiting to be made. And somewhere deep in Letheria, a small princess smiled, knowing that her life, and perhaps her world, had been touched by the courage of a human. The adventure was far from over, but Elias Vane felt ready. Whatever awaited him in Letheria, honor, recognition, or something even greater, he would meet it with the same heart that had guided him through smoke, fire, and the cold void of space. The stars whispered silently, and Elias whispered back, "I'm ready." The capital city of Letheria stretched below Captain Elias Vane's viewport like a scene from a dream. Crystalline towers rose into the sky, reflecting the light of twin suns in a rainbow of colors. Bridges of pure light connected floating gardens, where plants glimmered in shades no human eye had ever seen. The air shimmered faintly even from orbit, as if the planet itself breathed energy. Elias could hardly believe that he, a simple human pilot, had come this far. Beside him, the Princess Leora sat quietly, her soft blue glow pulsing gently as she gazed at her home. For the first time, she was back in the heart of her world, surrounded by beauty she had always known, yet now seen through a human's eyes. "Ready?" Elias asked softly. He adjusted his uniform, trying to appear calm and confident. Leora's hand reached for his, the smallest gesture of reassurance. Elias felt the warmth pulse through him, a reminder of why he was here. "Yes," she said, though the words were barely audible, carried more through light than sound. As their transport ship descended, officials lined the landing bay. Letherians moved gracefully, their bodies shimmering with faint energy. Even the air seemed to hum with their presence. Elias felt their eyes on him, curious, cautious, assessing. A human in their midst was rare, but he had earned a place here through courage and kindness. The doors opened, and Elias led Leora carefully, making sure she felt comfortable. She walked beside him, trusting him implicitly, and he felt a deep responsibility to honor that trust. The escort led them to the throne hall, a massive space of glowing crystal and floating lights. At the center sat Queen Aloria, tall and regal, her skin reflecting shades of blue and silver. Her presence was commanding, yet her eyes held warmth as they fell on Leora first, then on Elias. "Princess Leora," the queen said, her voice melodic and soothing. "You are safe, and you have returned with a hero by your side." Elias bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I only did what anyone would do. I rescued the princess because she needed help." The queen's gaze softened, though it remained sharp. "And yet, it is not everyone who acts with courage and compassion, without regard for personal gain. You have honored both our people and your own." Leora stepped forward, her small hand pointing toward Elias. The glow from her body intensified slightly, and she spoke in her native language. Elias could not understand her words, but he felt the emotion behind them: gratitude, pride, and trust. The Queen nodded, understanding fully. "You have proven that humans can rise to great heights, Captain Vane," the Queen said. "And it is our custom to recognize such deeds." Elias felt a mixture of awe and nervousness. He had been in dangerous situations before, but this being honored by an alien queen was unlike anything he had imagined. "Bring him forward," the Queen commanded. Elias stepped into the center of the hall, his heart beating rapidly. Letherian officials formed a semicircle around him, their presence both intimidating and inspiring. Leora's glow touched his side, reminding him that he was not alone. The Queen lifted a crystalline staff, its tip glowing with pure light. "Captain Elias Vane," she said, "for your bravery, for your kindness, and for your unwavering commitment to life, I honor you as a protector of Letheria. May your courage inspire both humans and Letherians alike." Elias knelt as the staff lowered, lightly touching his shoulder. A pulse of warmth and energy surged through him, different from Leora's gentle glow. This was the official blessing of the Letherian Order. A recognition not of rank or power, but of heart, bravery, and trust. "You are now Knight of Letheria," the Queen proclaimed. "Rise. Elias Vane, ally and friend." Elias stood, his uniform slightly shaking, but his heart filled with pride. He glanced at Leora, who was smiling softly, her glow brighter than ever. She had trusted him, and now that trust was recognized by her entire world. The hall erupted in polite applause, the sound unlike any human celebration. It was soft, harmonious, and full of warmth, echoing in Elias's chest. He realized that this moment was bigger than him. It symbolized the connection between humans and Letherians, a bridge built through courage and understanding. After the ceremony, the Queen invited Elias to walk with her through the gardens. Leora skipped ahead, exploring familiar spaces with joy and curiosity. Elias followed, marveling at the floating plants, the glowing pools, and the bridges of light. "You have done more than rescue my daughter," the Queen said as they walked. "You have shown our people that humans are capable of empathy, bravery, and honor. Not all of us see the same qualities in outsiders, but you have proven them wrong." Elias nodded humbly. "I only acted with what I thought was right. Leora needed help, and I couldn't turn away." The Queen smiled. "That is the essence of heroism. It is not the reward, the recognition, or the title that matters. It is the choice to act with heart, when others might hesitate." Elias looked at the princess, her small form glowing in the twilight of the gardens. He realized that bravery and kindness were not measured by size, species, or power. They were measured by the courage to act in the right moment, to protect life, and to respect others. As they strolled, Leora came back to his side, taking his hand once more. He felt the pulse of light flow through them, a quiet bond, stronger than words. She had trusted him completely, and now he was part of her world in a way he never could have imagined. The day passed in celebration, with humans and Letherians observing the union of trust between species. While Elias could not fully understand the customs, he sensed their meaning. Honor was not just about titles or ceremonies. It was about respect, friendship, and mutual recognition. Even the Letherian children approached him with curiosity. They asked questions in their soft, melodic language, and Elias answered as best he could. His stories of human worlds, starships, and adventures fascinated them, and he realized that the spark of curiosity was universal. As night fell on Letheria, the twin suns setting and painting the sky in colors humans could not name, Elias stood at the balcony of the royal palace. Leora sat beside him, her glow casting soft light across his uniform. "You saved me," she said, her voice faint but clear in her own language. Elias did not understand the words fully, but the emotion was unmistakable. "You saved me too," he replied. "You trusted me when you had every reason not to." She smiled, and for a moment, Elias felt the vastness of space shrink. Here, on this alien world, amid light, color, and wonder, he understood something simple yet profound. Being human was not about fighting wars, commanding fleets, or conquering planets. It was about courage, compassion, and the willingness to step forward when it mattered most. The Queen joined them at the balcony, her presence commanding but gentle. "Captain Vane," she said, "know that the bond you share with Princess Leora is rare. It is a testament to the best of your people. Humans can be heroes not through strength or domination, but through understanding, bravery, and heart." "Well, one." Elias bowed slightly. "I will do my best to honor that trust, Your Majesty." The Queen's eyes gleamed with approval. "You already have. And someday, perhaps, you will return to teach others what you have shown us all." Elias felt the weight of her words. He had been a simple pilot, used to navigating the dangers of uncharted space. Now, he had been knighted by an alien queen, trusted by a princess, and recognized as a bridge between two worlds. It was more than he had ever imagined for himself. As the night deepened and the stars above Letheria shone brighter than any he had ever seen, Elias and Leora stood side by side, looking out at the horizon. The glow from her body mingled with the reflection of the twin suns, creating a soft halo of light around them. "You'll come back, won't you?" Leora asked. Elias smiled. "I'll always come back when you need me." The promise was simple, yet it carried the weight of countless possibilities. Aliens and humans, so different in form and culture, had found a connection. And in that connection, Elias realized that heroism was universal. It did not belong to one species, one world, or one culture. It belonged to anyone who chose courage over fear, empathy over indifference, and action over hesitation. For Captain Elias Vane, the adventure had begun long before the shuttle caught fire. It had begun the moment he decided that one life mattered enough to risk everything. And on Letheria, as a knight of an alien kingdom, he had learned that even the smallest act of courage could create a bridge between worlds. The stars outside twinkled, indifferent yet approving. And Elias, human, protector, and now knight, whispered quietly to the universe, "I'm ready for whatever comes next." With Princess Leora by his side, the possibilities stretched endlessly before him. A new chapter awaited, one of friendship, honor, and the extraordinary courage of a human heart. And in that moment, Elias knew. Humans could rise to meet the cosmos, not through force or conquest, but through bravery, kindness, and trust. That was the true measure of heroism.